I've withheld talking about it until this point. Now I am going to address the game's narrative. Seeing as how this is a video game and not a movie or TV show, how good the story is not exactly the most important thing in the world to me. It still matters though. One point of contention amongst the fanbase is the inclusion of the Joker. I don't think it's bad. Sure, Batman turning into the Joker doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and I'll get back to that in a second, but I do not think having him in the game was a bad decision. This series at its core was always hyper-focused on the Batman-Joker dynamic. We see that get expanded upon in this game. The Joker being here gives many interesting insights into Batman's psyche. You have to take into consideration that the Joker is a figment of Batman's imagination, so everything that the Joker says has to be, at least in part, motivated by something Batman is thinking or feeling.
I can see why you like it up here, Bats. Gives you time to ponder the really big questions, like is Oracle dead? Is it all my fault? Who's going to die next?
For example, the Joker says repeatedly that Batman killed him.
Come on, you think you're different because you never killed anyone? Newsflash! You killed me! I was there, remember? You destroyed my cure right in front of me. Watch me choke on my last laugh. And then, after killing me, you said you would have shared. You couldn't admit I'd won, could you? Not even as a parting gift. But now I'm on the inside. Ooh, we both know the truth. Yes, you've killed before, and tonight I'll make you do it again.
We all saw Arkham City, and we all know Batman did not actually kill him. The Joker screwed himself by knocking the cure out of Batman's hands. The fact that Batman's imaginary Joker believes that Batman killed him conveys to us, the audience, that Batman must, deep down, hold himself responsible for the death of the Joker, and it weighs on him. At the end of the game, there's a fun little sequence where you play as the Joker inside Batman's head, where you lock him away to be forgotten forever, his worst fear now that he's dead. The fact that Batman appears inside his own mind as Batman instead of Bruce Wayne says a lot about him. You often hear that Batman is just as crazy as the criminals he puts away, and I don't think any Arkham game explores that as much as Knight does. The reason Batman does not kill is because he knows he has potential to be a violent criminal himself. If he ever goes down that path once, he may never come back from it. Also, in the movie studio and end credits, we get to hear Mark Hamill singing. How awesome is that? Back to the turning into the Joker plot point. Apparently, Batman and a few other people are turning into the Joker because his blood was transfused into them. I'll be the first to admit that does not make a lick of sense. If you received a blood transfusion from someone who had, let's say, HIV, you would just get HIV. You would not begin to turn into that person. Your personality would not start to dramatically change. Like, what the hell? It might have made more sense if Scarecrow's fear toxin is what caused Batman to turn into the Joker, especially since I'm guessing one of Batman's fears is turning into a criminal like the Joker. I guess I should talk about the Jason Todd plot twist too, while I'm at it. It was not hard to predict. Anyone familiar with the Under the Red Hood story should have seen that coming a mile away. Hell, even if you aren't, those Jason Todd flashbacks in the game were a dead giveaway. The Todd plot twist was basically doomed to fail. Let me elaborate. You see, the Arkham games are usually pretty self-contained stories. Sure, these games all exist within the same continuity, and they reference plot points here or there, but for the most part, these games usually tell standalone stories. Playing the Batman Arkham games is not exactly akin to watching the Lord of the Rings movies. As a result of this, the chances of the Arkham Knight's identity being a surprise were pretty low. It was unlikely that the character was going to be someone introduced in one of the first 3 games, but if it's a character introduced in Arkham Knight itself, which it was, then the plot twist would be predictable, and it was. So, the Arkham Knight plot twist was doomed to fail basically. Rocksteady made a mistake advertising it as a big reveal. 5 years later though, misleading marketing doesn't have any bearing on the quality of the game. I did not like Jason Todd as a villain. Throughout the game, he came across as so whiny and full of angst. Then, at the end, all his anger at Batman just seems to peter out for some reason. Question: did the Joker kill Robin and he came back to life via the Lazarus Pit? Or did the Joker just not kill him to begin with? I'm going with the latter. It is hard to make Jason Todd work in this series because the Joker is already dead. A lot of the emotional weight from the original story is gone. Instead of having Jason be heartbroken over the fact that Bruce let the Joker live, we have Jason just being mad. He's not challenging Batman's morality, he just wants revenge. A far less compelling narrative. I could go on, but like I said before, the story in a video game is not the most important thing to me. As long as the game is fun to play, I don't mind if it doesn't have the best writing. So, in the end, how good was Batman Arkham Knight? The Batmobile is my only real major problem with this game. If you take that away, Arkham Knight would probably be my favorite in the franchise. It enhances almost every aspect of the previous games. However, since the Batmobile is heavily utilized, it drastically drains my enjoyment of the game. Consequently, I guess I will have to stick with Arkham City as my favorite. I know this may be an unpopular opinion, but honestly, I would have to say Arkham Asylum was my least favorite. I don't think I could ever like that game as much as most people. I played it for the first time in 2020, not 2009. Additionally, I had already played the next 3 games years ago before finally getting to Asylum. To me, Asylum just felt very limiting. I did not like being stuck in one location. Also, it was the hardest game in the series by far, at least in my opinion. The subsequent games were a piece of cake when compared to Asylum. So what do you guys think? 5 years later, how good was Batman Arkham Knight? Where does it rank in the franchise?